us trapped in melancholy with the wood ones, a holly suggestions that a flicker rate to camouflage the folly. Attempt a mental robbery, executed sloppily. The paupers see this mockery and walk the talk with me. Put the hands up to touch the akasha, cause you know deep down there's something bigger than your wallet.
Sweet eternal balance of all that is good, true, and beautiful, friends. Welcome to Rogue Ways. Tonight, I have something I've thought about for a little bit and put together, and I'm calling it Trump's Trinity. It's not the good kind of Trinity. I mean, maybe you can decide for yourself, but I'm not super a fan of it myself. But I wanted to talk to you about it. It's weird, the synchronicities that have come together to add to that tonight, as seems to always happen. So it's interesting. We got a lot of really fascinating shit, and especially the very last piece I'm pretty excited about. So we'll get to all of that, and I hope you guys are all doing well. I hope that you have kept the faith and kept your fear balanced with your understanding of the truth of your souls, and have kept in contact with as many humans as you can during this time, especially in a way that helps support each other to continue surviving through this time. A lot of people are facing some pretty fucked up economic hardships, and so we want to spread what wealth we do have around as much as possible to the people who need it the most, and to keep it out of the hands of the people who have quite enough and don't need any more of our money. So keep those things in mind during this time, but we are not here to talk about all that bullshit. We are here to talk about Trump and his Trinity, his trifecta of things. But I also want to tell you guys a few things. And one is that I need to pick a final date for this. I think I'm going to do, let's just do next Sunday as the final date for the drawing of the winner of these coasters. Why do I always forget what they're called? These coasters with those beautiful fresh pressed flowers in them. It's a set of 5. They're all pinks and yellows and reds. They're gorgeous. And if you want to enter to win those, you can still do it by going to Subscribestar and becoming a subscriber at any level. There's a $1 level, a $7 level, a $22 level, and a $55 level, and they all have different perks. You can read about them here on the page. If you're a Sprout at the $1 level, you're just getting access to the posts on the page and supporting me with a little tiny nudge every month, which is awesome. I really appreciate that. At the Roots level, you get access to all of the stuff on the site, especially the audiobook recordings that are not available elsewhere. At the Rogue Heart level, you get access to the monthly tarot readings that are on the site. I've had a few of those up on my channel, so if you want to get an idea of what those are like, you can go check them out. And then at the Rogue Soul level, you get basically free tarot reading a month, because you get access to all the same stuff on the site, but you also get a tarot reading personal, just one-on-one. That's me and you in a Zoom session doing a 10-card reading, which usually takes about an hour. It's usually a $60 value. So if you're someone who knows you want a tarot reading from me every month, that is definitely the best way to do it, is to subscribe here. There's 14 slots left, actually. So that's nice. I think someone else was going to grab one this month, so there might only be 13 left. But that's what's going on here. So go check it out, subscribestar.com/rogue-ways. And while I've got that highlighted, I'll just throw it in the chat for you guys, so you can check that out if you're into it. You can also go to my site, CoreySharma.com. You can also go to rogueways.org, redirects to here. There's just on this homepage some of my writings, articles, poems, stuff like that. A couple guest posts. I have some guest authors that sometimes post as well. And so there's some of their stuff as well. And elsewhere on the site, you can find my Subscribestar. You can find all of the audio of Rogue Ways, past and present. And you can check out my books. I've got 3 so far. One is still finished and in the editing works. It's to come. It's the sequel to Sine Curve, which is my first novel. If you link through here, it takes you to Amazon, where you can buy the book. But especially Sine Curve, I am offering you... you can buy it straight from me by PayPaling me $15. That gives you free shipping and free tax. There's no tax when you do that, so it's cheaper than buying it through Amazon. And you also get an inscription from me and some Rogue Ways stickers that I send to you anywhere in the United States. So you can find my PayPal link on this Tarot and Guidance tab. And you can also read about the tarot readings that I do and the deck that I use. But here's my PayPal link here if you want to do that option of buying the book directly from me for $15. You can PayPal me there. And you can also donate to the show. I always appreciate people who donate to the show. It's really handy. If you think I make money off of this, you are wrong. This is not how I make my money. I make my money doing editing work and other odd jobs. And so it's really cool if people have found value in Rogue Ways that they want to share back with me, to either do it through Subscribestar or through purchasing tarot reading or donating to the show here on the site, or visiting the shop on the site. And there's some ways to support me here as well. There is Rogue Gear. As always, you can get t-shirts, cups, mugs, all that kind of stuff. There's classes and tarot readings here if you want to get more in depth on which types of tarot readings we can do, and various types of classes, as well as guidance sessions, I called them. They're on all sorts of topics and interests. If you find that you would like my support further, whether it's spiritual, mental, emotional, economic, like anything, any sort of guidance that you would like, then I offer that as well if you want to purchase a session there. And finally, the Logic 2020 event this summer is super exciting. More people are buying tickets all the time. I did extend the sale. The tickets are still on sale now through this month, and maybe honestly for the rest of the time, because I don't imagine that economic times are going to get any easier. So we'll probably just keep those on sale until the event itself. So that is what you can find on the site. And as always, you can go to SoundCloud if you'd like to listen instead of watch on YouTube. You can also subscribe through any podcast app, and it will draw all of the same content into the app for you. So that's all the stuff that I've got for you. And now I'm going to take a minute. I'm going to say what's up to the people in the chat. And just as your reminder, if you're on Facebook, I cannot see your comments until after I'm completely done with the show. So if you want to interact live or have something to share, then you want to hop over to YouTube or DLive. So I'm going to say what's up to Philip K. Balls, the man himself. We've got Gordon. What's up, Gordon? We've got Lacey. Hey, Lacey. We've got Sue. What's up, Sue? Austin Beach in the house. We've got the Digital Apparition. That guy's pretty sexy. And we've got some other people that haven't said hi yet, but you're out there watching. So what's up to you too if you have not said hi yet. But come say hi. People want to interact, and you're rad. You're obviously a badass if you're here. So Lacey says, oh, I thought it was a question. Lacey says I do awesome tarot readings. Thank you, Lacey. I very much love to offer that to people, and I find that if you have something in your life that seems difficult, overwhelming, or hard to sort of see the end of or see through, or it just kind of seems muddy and heavy, tarot reading is a really good option to sort of sort things out and see where everything stands and see the end, see the light at the end of the tunnel, and find your way through all those things. So I love to be able to offer that to people, and I used to do it for free for a really long time until I realized that my time and expertise are valuable. And so now I do charge, but I do, as people have found, offer trades often. So if you're someone who doesn't have a lot of money, but you have something else to offer, then try me. It's worth a try, right? And if we find something we can agree on, then I'm happy to do that, because that's super fair and super awesome. We got to find ways around money as much as possible. So yeah. Never hesitate to ask. And the same is true for things like the Logic event. If you find that you need some support with that, we may be able to figure something out. So just try at the very least if you're into it and you want it, but you don't think you have the money. Excuse me. All right. What's up, Chris? What's up? Gregory Hampton is here. I don't know if I've seen you before. It's nice to see you. We've got Raleigh Dangler. Don't be stuck up, peeps. That's right. Don't do it. Listen to Raleigh. Be humble. Yes, I'm glad that you came over from Facebook. Again, if you're on Facebook, I cannot see you there. I can only see people on DLive and YouTube. So that's where I'm seeing the comments. If you want to be a part of that, then hop over to those places. So I guess we will get started here. And I'm going to go through this. Actually see something. Nope. Okay. Sorry, I was playing with some things that are not working right now for some reason, but that's okay. We'll just do this. So I'm going to talk to you guys about the Trinity of Trump that we have seen arise in our great nation here. And then we're going to start with the first Trinity. And the first Trinity is this chaos culture that Trump has drawn off of, seemingly. And so it's interesting. You may know a lot about all of these things we're going to go through, but I just want to review them and go into the details of some of them because of how fascinating it is how they've all come together, especially right here before the next election, maybe, question mark. So Trinity 1 is that critical chaos culture that we saw that all surrounded this phenomenon of Pepe, the frog. He showed up actually in 2010, it turns out, which is a ways before the Trump phenomenon came about and seemed to sweep out of nowhere and change everything. So that's a long time that it was around, but Pepe showed up in the 4chan chat boards, message boards, if you were not familiar with that. It's just kind of your old school traditional messaging board forum sort of place, but it's more like anonymous than some places are. And anyway, it's a whole entire universe unto itself. If you have not gone and poked around there, it's a pretty freaky place. It's interesting and fun. A lot of culture comes out of there. In fact, at this point in time, perhaps most of it, I'm not sure, but or places like it at least. But anyways, Pepe the Frog appeared there. He was just a sad little frog man. And who knows exactly how he came about or why, but there he was in 2010. There's just one random detail. Seemingly random. Seemingly random as well was this idea of kek, K-E-K, as something that people would type just like we would type lol or ha ha ha. It's like a Korean sort of laughter. There's other like languages and cultures that might be like ja ja ja, or just various ways that people on electronic chat boards like this communicate that they're laughing. Kek is one of those ways. And so kek came about too, as a laughter, as a way to sort of laugh and or troll and or, express mirth or whatever. So Pepe was a thing and kek was a thing. And they seem unrelated. And in the, I don't know how you would call this if you were actually like a 4chan person, but in the slash poll, I guess, politics board of 4chan, some interesting things started happening. People think that it's like a white nationalist message board for some reason, or an alt-right message board, and it's pretty weird to think that. It's a huge misunderstanding. It's a generalization, I guess, and I think it's just a fear tactic or a smear tactic by the media, but it's definitely not that. It's just a place where people talk politics, and as is usually the culture in message boards like this, it's pretty irreverent and full of slang and full of, people being pretty, I don't know what polite company might call inappropriate, but in reality it's just people being people. But above all else, like it says, it's a place where, the status quo can be sort of confronted and mocked maybe, and mercilessly challenged is a good way to put it. So it's just that kind of a place where a bunch of random people who like to hang out here are talking about this kind of shit. And it's a melting pot for all kinds of people. There's some people there who are genuinely very deep thinkers and understand various aspects of politics to a depth that most other people might be surprised about. And then there's also just random shitheads that are just doing nothing. And it's just a place of chaos. Definitely a place of chaos. There's not a lot of organization in a place like this, which is kind of the point of a place like this. So there is a lot of that going on. And so from this chaos, people noticing that Trump was coming to run for president, sort of stuck Pepe with him. They would use kek as like a way to especially make fun of people who, were trying to take this seriously or not. Especially, Donald Trump wasn't taken seriously even here, even at the beginning. Sorry, especially at the beginning. It was just a joke, and so this sort of idea of merging all these elements of the culture of that board into one and sort of celebrating Trump was a total joke at first. And Pepe was just sort of the one of the ongoing memes of that zone of the internet, and so it got shoved in there as well as kek. So these things sort of all merged in that chaos. And still it was nothing, right? It was still just a joke. But there's a part of this culture there that, if you don't know already, is it's all about repeating numbers, and they're called gets. The way that you post there is totally randomized. You have no way of knowing what number your post will have, and especially the last few numbers, if they're repeating in any way, it's called a get. The more numbers repeat, the better the get. If there's 2 numbers repeating, it's cool. If there's 3 numbers repeating, it's better. If there's 4, it's even more basic. I don't even know myself how many could repeat. I don't know. I think it's an 8-letter. Yeah, 8-digit long number. So maybe you can get an 8-digit get. That'd be pretty amazing. And so people pay attention when you have a post that ends up having these repeating numbers at the end. They're like, that's a cool get. Whatever. I don't know. I don't hang out there, so I'm not sure how they celebrate it, but I just know they do. And it is totally randomized. There's no way you can plan which post gets which number. It's all about, the entire sort of board or site even maybe is all just numbering things as they come in. And so it's not knowable. So yeah, there's dubs, trips, quads, blah, blah, blah. Get a get. If you get a get, if you get those repeating numbers. So they found out as time went on that Trump was getting mad gets. The idea of Trump, anytime somebody posted about Trump, it kept getting gets. And it was weird, and it was unseen before, so they noticed it. And they celebrated it. It's just weird. It's like you can't explain it. There's no reason why it should happen. I can imagine if I were part of that culture and it started happening, I would definitely feel very strange about it. I'd feel like something was going on. I think you would too. I think when you're looking at it from outside, you might not really see how that might feel, but it definitely, I can just imagine it like it would be very strange if you started noticing like this one topic got all the gets, and this one topic happened to be Trump. So people started noticing like that's really weird that Trump is getting the gets. We're still just on the first arm of the Trinity, if you're still following along. We're just talking about this phenomenon of the 4chan Pepe Kek sort of convergence of chaos. And so as we're talking about these things, it turns out that actually a god is sort of being born. And all of these random elements within 4chan culture started to coalesce. And one was that Pepe the Frog, which was now at that point and still today kind of like the unofficial mascot of this message board, like Pepe. And this is where the Pepe memes come from. This is why you see so many of them. And if you went there, you would see them there. And Donald Trump obviously was getting all the gets, and him and Pepe were merging, and people were noticing this. And so even people who, it's like there was people who were joking about it and were like, yeah, totally, let's like push Donald Trump and let's celebrate Donald Trump as our candidate of choice. And then there's people who are like, no, really, this is like a good choice for president. There's like all of these people together, just like we talked about earlier. It's a mishmash of people, but it was gaining support. It was like, yeah, let's follow the gets, let's do this. And then Kek, of course, like I said, that method of laughing and sort of trolling people started becoming associated with Donald Trump especially mocking people who he would sort of trounce in public or mock in public, or trolling the I guess Hillary supporters and other people involved in the political landscape. So all those things came together. And then like you can see, this is just some of the repeating numbers that people threw together about all these posts that had to do with Kek. I mean, I don't even know, but all of these numbers were repeating. Oh, here's our first, all 8s were 7s. And it was predicting that Trump will win. And 7 is the most powerfully magic number. So this magic seemed to be happening, and it was not just random. I mean, it was all Trump related. So this is, again, if you can imagine being in this culture at that time, this is going to really fuck with your head and freak you out. You're going to be like, why are all these Trump posts that are predicting his win and other things, why are they all getting these gets? This is too weird, right? And it turns out there's actually an ancient chaos god that becomes associated with this, and this is where it gets creepy and weird. And again, you've probably heard about this, but we're just reviewing it. This is just one arm of the Trump Trinity. So we've got the frog-headed one. And remember, Kek just came about this like sort of onomatopoeia, this like way of laughing in another language. totally independent of Pepe the Frog, totally independent of Trump, but they all kind of mashed together in the culture, in the chaotic culture there. But it turned out that Kek is, and always has been, this ancient Egyptian deity. Kek is actually, carved in stone in various ways in Egypt, which is fucking nuts. It's nuts. It's nuts that this frog named Kek is actually a real thing, and that this just came about in this chat board, seemingly unrelated. Again, you couldn't have controlled this as far as we know. It's all randomized, and the way that these things become part of the culture there is random. And yeah, I don't know how you would have done this on purpose as a human. So Kuk or Kek is the deification of darkness. It's the deity of darkness in ancient Egypt, or a symbol of darkness, or obscurity, the unknown, and so thus, or therefore, chaos is associated with Kek. And this is an interesting part too. Here it says Kek or Kuk, and every time I say Kuk, I'm thinking of like cucks, like Justin Trudeau. But Kuk, it's interesting that Kek is being seen as having occurred before the light, or being therefore known as the light bringer. And we know the light bringer is Lucifer. So that's pretty interesting. And I liked this meme because not only is it all the things we're talking about, especially the mocking of the sort of SJWs in the background, and leftist sort of people in the background, but also, the Statue of Liberty has been associated with Lucifer. And here's Trump as the savior, as the Messiah, and it's a really well done meme because it has a lot of different aspects of the story tucked into it. I don't know if it meant to do that or not, but it's pretty interesting. So we've got Kek, the ancient Egyptian god of chaos and darkness, the bringer of light, also known as Lucifer in other mythologies, all wrapped up here with Trump. And this is before he even won. Then it got weirder. It's not just Kek, it's that there's this random statue that was found, and people kind of went nuts when they saw this because it was actually misprinted. It's not misprinted, rather it's mislabeled as Kek, this statue that people found, when it's actually not Kek. It's actually the ancient goddess Heket, I guess. And I don't know why, because I think she's actually a snake. But either way, there's this sort of hieroglyphic here, and it is actually matching hieroglyphics, found in ancient Egypt. It's not just on this random statue that someone made. But because it was labeled Kek, someone found it, and then someone looked and noticed that, what does that look like on the front? It looks like a person using a computer, and behind it is this sort of, I don't know, I'd say that's like DNA and shit, but, they're saying that's sort of magic, or like twisting the fates together, messing with the timelines, or something, and it's pretty weird. Like, that's a pretty weird hieroglyphic right there. I don't know what it's supposed to be, but it definitely looks like a person in front of a computer, and that is a trip. That's from way back when. Kek is from way back when. This hieroglyphic is from way back then. This statue is made in modern times, but it's a recreation of elements that are real and ancient. So they then called this the prophecy of Kek, because the prophecy made way back when in these hieroglyphic states was that people using computers would use meme magic to bring about the resurgence of the ancient god of chaos, Kek. And it got weirder, because it wasn't just people making these random connections and seeing patterns in the chaos and the storm and being like, no, look, it is weird that, like, Trump has all these repeating numbers and blah, blah, blah. They started noticing really weird shit happening. And it seemed to be tied up with the ideas that were being promoted on 4chan. Right? People saying meme magic works and we've got our god Kek behind us. And some people were like, dude, I didn't think this meme magic was real. But then all this shit starts happening, and now I'm wondering if we really are fucking with powers that we don't understand. Just thinking that we're being funny and fucking around on this chat board, right? But on September 11th, and that's a date that we all know is very important in occult circles, 9/11. And so on September 11th, 2016, three pretty mind-blowing things happened if you were there at the time watching these things. And the first was that Hillary Clinton fainted leaving that 9/11 memorial event, and we all remember that. She's walking out and she's kind of falls over, and it's like she malfunctions and they like grab her and throw her in a van and like speed off. It's very weird to watch. If you haven't seen it, you should go watch it. And then she declared Pepe an enemy of the state the same day. Pepe, the cartoon frog that you can draw yourself, she declared an enemy of the state. It's retarded if you think about it. It's like, it's ridiculous that this even happened, but it did. And then people discovered this musical connection to Keck and Pepe and this idea, and it got even weirder. And this is all on September 11th. And this is the cover. This is rather the, the disc itself. But you can see it's pretty weird. It's a frog. He's got a magic wand. It talks about magic. It's called Magic Sound. It's got this, this isn't really a chaos wheel, but it's a wheel of creation, at least, this spiral. So that's kind of interesting. And most interesting of all, it says Pepe at the bottom. Pepe. This is from like 1960, 86, 76. I think that says 1986 there. It's somewhere around then, at least, that this came out. So it's very distant in time. I mean, not very. It's not as distant as Keck himself and the hieroglyphics that predicted meme magic, apparently. But it's still pretty far back in 1986 or whatever. And what does Pepe stand for to whoever makes this Magic Sound CD or record? I guess record. They didn't have CDs. Whatever. Point emerging, probably entering. Point emerging, probably entering. I mean, even if you're doing a lot of acid and shit, like, I don't know what you would mean by that. Point emerging, probably entering. Except some sort of time-based chaos magic, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what these people would have meant by point emerging, probably entering. But it's weird. And this was discovered on the same day that these other two events with Hillary Clinton happened, and people started to get pretty freaked out. They're like, it was weird enough, and it got even weirder. So that sort of brings that element of this ancient prophecy of Keck, the chaos god of darkness, the light bringer, into more modern times with this music. And somebody went looking for the full-length version of this album, and the artwork is interesting because it seems to show Trump Tower's clock and a blonde man facing the clock. And as they're posting these discoveries, there's even more gets associated. So again, the posts that the numbering of the posts has those repeating numbers at the end. So you see here, it's kind of faded. I'm sorry, I tried to find a better image and I couldn't find one. But here is a blonde man seemingly looking at this clock. If you look at the clock in front of Trump Tower, it's very similar. I mean, that's a pretty standard-ish clock anyway, so that part's not that weird. But it is just weird that this is also on that album. It's got the frog, it's got the magic wand, it's got Pepe, it's got a blonde man, it's got this clock that's similar to Trump Tower. And I mean, honestly, if you look at this yellow thing in the background, that could even be interpreted as a tower too. It's just pretty weird, and it's even weirder that as you're discovering this and posting it in these 4chan places, you're getting all these repeating numbers. So again, we've got the point emerging, probably entering shit on here too. It's just pretty weird, guys. It's pretty weird. I can't explain this away myself. It's pretty fucking insane. And so Pepe and Keck, they're like this hyper sigil that came out of the chaos of 4chan, right? It's like chaos magic had these sigils, and they're all interconnected, and they're all throughout thousands of years of time, and they're charged by hours of so many different types of humans, just like dumping in mirth, right? A lot of them are just joking. They're just like, this is stupid, you know, but it's still like funny. They're still pouring that emotion into it. Some of them are genuinely just hate Hillary Clinton and want her to die. So they're pouring in that energy into it. A lot of them just hate politics as usual. We're just sick of all of this shit. What do you mean? Make the whole thing. Sorry guys, hold on. Hi again. I guess there's something malfunctioning. The right side isn't showing. The images are blocked out. Really? Why? But you can see the text. That doesn't even make sense. It's supposed to show exactly what's on my screen. Wait, did it just log me out? The text. Oh, that's so fucked. Are you serious? Here, let me see. Doesn't even make sense. I wonder if I do it like this. No, because then that wouldn't show up. Sorry you guys didn't see any of the pictures and they're rad. It's not going to work that way though. What if I do this? No, it's not going to work either. What a bunch of bullshit. Now my whole computer's freezing. This is like I don't know, it's not brand new, but it's a pretty nice computer that's relatively new within the last year. It's not even been used all that much, and it fucks up all the time. Isn't that amazing? I swear to God. Like, I seriously can't even see if anybody can see me now or if everything's shut down or not. Just frozen. It's because I'm talking about Keck, and he's angry. No, lots of people have talked about this a lot of times. Fuck this piece of shit. I can't even close the fucking thing now. What? Oh, you don't have to be... I seriously can't. Man, I'm like, I can't even close here. So annoying. Like, what is... Task Manager doesn't even look normal. All of a sudden. Try hitting it really hard. We're going to try this again, guys. The thing that's really annoying is I was going to do it I don't know if you saw my last, like, actual presentation sort of thing that I did. You guys are going to see some of my other shit here for a second. Oh, you're fucking kidding. It just shut down, like, everything for no fucking reason. I do things like a little bit differently than other live streamers, obviously, and last time I did it, I had just like my image files and I was just cycling through them and just like talking off my notes, and this time I was like, well, I may as well just put them in like a slide or whatever. It's super easy and fast, and oh my God. And obviously it's like not capable of doing the pictures for some reason. You guys can see there's like pictures there. I mean, they look weird, but I wonder if I do it like this. This is lame, but just tell me if you can see this picture. Yeah, I can see it on there. Why wouldn't you be able to see it? So, but that's annoying because you can't actually see like the pictures because it's all this other stupid shit here. I guess that's kind of big. It's lame though. Let's go back so you guys can actually see some of the pictures though. You saw Pepe. Some of these didn't matter. There was Trump and Pepe meme. That one didn't matter. That one didn't matter. That one was cool. You guys, I guess, missed that one. There's Trump as Mary and Pepe as Jesus. There's one that was showing all of the gets that were associated with this thread there was a lot of repeats, but the main thread said 77777, 8 sevens, and that was the one that said Trump will win. Wait, right now you can see me, but not the pictures still? Oh, they all showed up until the tower? Oh god, I'm so confused. So you guys did see all of these pictures? What's up, Andrew? What's up, Big Hair Tsunami? Sasha's here. What's up, Lori Faye? Okay, I'm gonna go back to the... Let's see if I can do the thing again, then you guys can see. Oh, it goes all the way back. How annoying. I'm so sorry that I'm going through all this again. Well, this is where we were at. People were hypercharging these hyper sigils of Pepe and Keck and the Trump being successful politically, basically, with all of these emotions, whether they liked it or not, by spending time in 4chan poring over all of this stuff and laughing at it or crying at it or being angry about it, or, basically there was a lot of emotion, whether it ranged from hope to hatred or whatever. And genuinely then shock when people started to see that this was all seemed to be real and seemed to have something actually behind it that was controlling it, perhaps from behind the scenes, or kind of manifesting through it into our modern world. It's pretty scary, maybe even for some people, to watch that happen, especially the more you understand how unlikely it really was. And a hypersigil is a concept of this creative work that via this medium of interacting, whether you're writing or whatever, that it actually is changing the real world. And so it does seem that there was a hypersigil in this space and time with all of these elements combined. So this was just the first arm of this Trinity. And the concept is that there was a lot of gets, right? Those repeating numbers, and that they all had to do with Trump. That Pepe the Frog that had arisen in this realm of chaos of 4chan is actually the god Keck from ancient Egypt, the chaos god of ancient times. He's the Luciferian bringer of light. And that in more recently, in the 80s or 70s or whenever that music came out, that that sigil was charged again or kept alive again. And who knows how many other times throughout history, but these are just the few we found. In that album where it actually said Pepe and had a picture of the frog and talked about point emerging, probably entering. Magic uses sigils like these in order to send its intent out into the world and manifest things, and Trump did end up winning, and it did seem like a surprise. And no matter where you fall on whether or not that was planned or orchestrated or blah blah blah, it still definitely took the world by surprise, at least. So there was a lot more emotion wrapped up in that than if someone else had won. And point emerging, probability entering sounds a lot to me like time travel. Point emerging, probability entering. That sounds like time travel to me. It sounds like a way of describing time travel, at the very least, through ideas and emotions and concepts. So it's interesting that another arm of this Trinity that Trump has going on for him is time travel related. And so we're going to talk about the second arm of the Trinity, being time travel. And this is another concept which you may be very familiar with. This is the idea that this Ingersoll Lockwood wrote the Baron Trump's Marvelous Underground Journey. I'm going to pause here to see if you guys are having trouble seeing or not. I love how supportive you guys are. You're like, it's all okay, just keep going. Thank you. But were you able to see the picture of the Ingersoll Lockwood book and whatnot at the end, or right before I stopped there? I just want to check because the pictures coming up are pretty cool too. And again, if you're watching on Facebook, if you jump over to YouTube or DLive, then I can actually see your comments during this live stream. Just the tower pic. Oh, maybe I'll find that tower pic and show it to you guys at the end. It's really not that fascinating. It just has a like blonde guy from a top view and the clock, and it says Pepe. But it was the cover album for that work. So, but let's go back to this. Baron von Trump's Marvelous Journey, A Marvelous Adventure Underground. So this is actually the what am I saying? The screenshot? No, the what's it called when you oh, you know, your printer can also scan. It's a scanned copy of this actual book, and I have this document. If you guys want it, maybe towards the end you can remind me, or you can email me and ask me for it, and I'll send it to you. It's an EPUB document, but it does have scanned images of the actual pages of the book, which is pretty cool. So this is where I'm getting these from. This is the actual book itself. Or again, rather, I don't own the physical version, but the scanned copy. But anyway, here's the first page, Baron von Trump's Magical Underground Journey. And Ingersoll is a weird name, and so I broke it up and I looked to see what it might mean, if anything. And Inger means to inspire or instill. Soul can mean should. Lock is obviously lock. And wood is this hard fibrous growth. So if you think about that as inspiring or instilling, that this should inspire or instill and lock in a hard and fibrous growth is an interesting idea. Whether or not that's anything, I don't know. Ingersoll, again, is like a weird name to me, and so I wanted to see if it had anything to it. But that's who wrote this book and a couple others, allegedly. In 1893 is when this was entered, I think, into the Library of Congress, although the stamp here says 1892, so clearly it came out before then. But that's about the time frame we're working with, and it's about a kid named Baron Trump. And he goes on marvelous underground adventures, as you could guess by the title. And this is the first image that you see in the book. There's a lot of pictures in this book. It's not a picture book per se, but it does have these sort of sketches in it. And so this is the character from the book. And it is kind of interesting. His face is pretty similar to Baron Trump's face when he's a child. So it's just interesting. It's interesting too. I was told that this dog here even looked like Baron Trump's dog in real life in modern day. I could not find anything that said that Baron Trump even had a dog in modern day, but I did find this picture of Trump holding a dog that does look similar to that dog. So I don't know if that's the dog people had said looked the same or not, but kind of interesting. Who knows? But there is this similarity between this old book from 1892 and our modern day president's son. There's a couple images in the book. The story's pretty fanciful. I read most of it before I got bored. It's hard to read books from 1892. They write really strangely. But you know, here's a picture of him going to Russia. So people also kind of jumped onto that. They're like, Russia! You know, because Trump and Russia supposedly whatever, blah, blah, blah. But you know, he goes around, he meets people like this lady that he meets. This is Princess Kristalina. It's very fantastical, sort of fantastical realism almost, if that's a thing. Here he's using some magic. He's got like a heart stone and it's projecting on a screen. So there's like some aspects of like technology and magic in here. And this one to the right here, I hope you guys can see these. He's got these little men that he meets underground. There's a lot of this takes place underground. Most of it, in fact, takes place underground. And there's whole civilizations and societies under there. And they've got magical technology, and these guys are listening to his heart and controlling his heart through like a string or something. It's pretty weird. And the time travel weirdness doesn't stop there, because you'd think, well, it's just a book, who cares? But it turns out that Donald Trump's uncle, John Trump, was actually a genius, an electrical genius, an electrical engineer and physicist. And he was an MIT scientist, and we all may know in this realm that MIT has some questions about, you know, whether or not it's just pure, like, sort of CIA or whatever. And of course, it probably would be with all the smartest people there. Whether or not everyone there knows that is another question. But John Trump was an MIT professor and scientist. He worked with X-rays and radar, and especially in World War II, he did a lot of research for all sorts of things, really. Some of it might have been weaponry, but he did seem like he was very interested in saving people's lives and making people's lives better, which is interesting. He doesn't seem like a sort of crazy mad scientist at all. He seems like a pretty cool guy, but what do I know? I don't know him. I wasn't there. Here he is with some other scientist, working with some crazy devices. He did design this million-volt X-ray, and it was like supposedly helped cancer patients live a lot longer, supposedly. Nuclear research, he did all kinds of stuff. Medicine, like I said, especially the acceleration of electrons to high energies, which I associate in my mind with things like CERN and stuff, and non-living matter. So I guess he developed something that was like an X-ray that worked 62 times faster than other X-rays. I don't know. I was trying to figure out what it meant when I read it, but I didn't really get it. But it turns out he has ties with Tesla. Tesla, the one that we all love. Tesla, the fucking magician, basically, the wizard. And in 1943, the FBI liked John Trump enough that they invited him to come when Nikola Tesla died in his hotel room where he had been falling in love with the pigeon. He died and he left behind all his work, and they invited John Trump to come go through that work and to help them sort through what was going on and whether or not sort of their enemies had already pawed through it or not, or whether he could tell what to do with it all. Tesla, of course, is well known for many, many things, one of them being his interest in time travel and wondering if it's possible or believing that it is and trying to figure it out. So that is why people find it even more interesting that there is a book about Baron Trump who looks like Baron Trump and has a dog like Baron Trump that was written in 1892 by this random guy. They're like, maybe that kid time traveled back and had marvelous adventures, and who knows what technology you would have if you could figure out time travel, right? And who knows what sort of ancient magic you could pull off in the chat rooms of 4chan if you had time travel, and these types of things. These types of questions come up when we realize that Tesla and John Trump have something to do with each other. Of course, Ingersoll didn't only write Baron von Trump's underground adventures. He also wrote 2 other books, one of them being The Last President, also known as 1900. Now, if you're into numerology, you would notice here's another 9 and a 1, like 9/11. And you'd think, I wonder if he did that. I don't know. I know that he was alive right before the turn of the century, and so that's always a fascinating time for people, and it tied in well with his plot here in this book, and so probably just a date that he picked, but do whatever you want with that. It was interesting in the front, the inscription said, "The Chicago platform assumes, in fact, the form of a revolutionary propaganda. It embodies a menace of national disintegration and destruction. Garrett E.A. Hobart." And I was like, who's Garrett A. Hobart? And it's this vice president we had at the time. And he was very anti-socialist, it turns out. And so that's what they're kind of talking about here. So that gives you the flavor of the book a little bit. It was interesting just looking at the first chapter. This is another book I have. If you would like it, I can send it to you. It's an EPUB. Again, you can read it on your e-readers or in your browsers. But right away, it's talking about New York City, November 3rd. So, of course, the day before the election, or the day of, maybe, Tuesday. Yeah, so it would have been the day of the election. And how the city is just shocked because of the election of this president. So it's already like, that's kind of like what happened, People were like fucking kind of losing it when Trump won. And obviously New York City is the sort of center of that, because that's where he lives. And then it goes on. There's some things that are similar, like that his best friend in this book is his first advisor, and then he dismisses him. So that's also similar to Trump, which is kind of weird. It's similar in that Fifth Avenue is involved as a current or a location that the plot where people go kind of crazy, and that's where Trump Tower is specifically mentioned. There's riots outside in this area in the book, and we can imagine there may be more riots there. There has been riots in the past. In this book, they reinstate the gold standard, and we haven't done that, but you have seen recently some moves with the Fed being absorbed, I guess, into the Treasury, weirdly. So I don't know what's going to happen with that. And you have this sort of socialist movement is threatened to sort of destroy the nation and the fabric of society. And that is definitely how, especially people on the right, sort of see our current space. And then you see DC and Wall Street destroyed in this book. And we definitely see Wall Street take a hit recently, not when Trump was elected. And definitely Wall Street actually has had a really good run since Trump has been elected. But we have recently, like as in the past few weeks, seen Wall Street sort of crumbling, and who knows if we'll still see DC crumbling. So there's some similarities between the book and what's going on, but it's definitely not like a one-to-one prophecy or something, but it is interesting. And apparently, the plot of this book ends up that there are no more presidents after this president. And that is the part that people focus on. And what's interesting about this little clip that I have at the bottom is that it talks about the satanic and truly devilish power of that hell upon earth known as Wall Street. And it's interesting. I just liked that when I just noticed it and pulled it out, because we do look at a lot of what's going on and notice that it seems satanic and Luciferian and devilish and has a lot to do with the money systems on earth. And so, I think this guy was pretty anti-socialist and pro, keeping the union together and having a strong states' rights balanced with federal, leadership. And but it's an interesting book. But like I said, it's not a one-to-one. But we have seen in this second arm of the trifecta that time travel and Trump are connected. And you can imagine if Trump's uncle did have time travel material from Tesla, that would be a pretty big playing chip, or whatever you want to say. Like he would be a pretty powerful human no matter what his position, even if he weren't president. And so, you can use this to imagine a lot of good could come from it too. If somebody took the time to arrange themselves becoming president, and maybe they want to save the world or something, who knows? And so maybe Barron actually did play with that time travel technology and go back in time and inspire this Ingersoll guy or whoever it is that actually wrote those books. And perhaps The Last President in part is a warning against socialism, and some people say maybe it's a plan and that Trump plans to be the last president. Who knows? That's an interesting arm of the trifecta, the Trinity of Trump. And the third aspect of the Trinity is the Q phenomenon. And this is a lot of people's least favorite. We're not going to spend too much time on Q. I just want to go through the Q mystery a little bit. It also has to do with a Chan, except it's 8chan, but 8chan and 4chan are pretty much the same. Sorry if I'm offending anyone in saying that. They're both message boards. They both have a lot of that sort of underground culture going on, and culture creation, really. There's a lot of messages that come about and are posted on those this place in 8chan, and that they're called drops, so coded drops. There's I myself hate riddles and codes, and they're all riddles and codes that are dropped, and they're all from this person Q, or maybe it's multiple people, or who knows what it is. And the drops all allege that there's a war between what they're calling the deep state and Trump. And that Trump has actually come about maybe because of time travel, maybe because of ancient chaos magic and Keck, maybe both, maybe neither, but either way he's come about to fight the deep state and this corruption that we see going on, and that this is the sort of satanic and pedophilic international cabal of evil that we saw come about and become more exposed, especially in things like Pizzagate or, the Clinton Foundation and all of the murders that are associated with the Clintons and etc. And so we've seen all that come about, and this is sort of the answer to that. It's like, well, here's Trump to end all those people. He's going to go against the deep corruption that's intertwined in our society and kill it. And so it's very alluring. It's like, oh, thank God, someone's going to do something about that evil shit. And so because of its allure, some people call it hope porn. We so badly want to hope. This is our sort of salve to keep us going. There is some things that are proof. I've probably not chosen the best ones. Forgive me if that is true. If you are a follower of Q, you know better than I. But there are some interesting ones. One they all mostly have to do with Trump's tweets. One is that Trump tweeted this tweet: "Congratulations to all the deplorables. The millions of people gave us a massive electoral college landslide victory." This is a year, I guess, after he won, actually. They're all sitting here with their thumbs up saying, "Yay, this is so good, we won." And if you can find this on Twitter, and if you click on the actual picture, I guess the picture's file name is do it q blah 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 other numbers and letters. And people say that do it Q means that this is confirming that Q is directly connected to Trump. These are all from 2017, so again, I guess there's probably a lot better examples out there. These are just the ones I found quickly. Also, that headline here in front of Trump says, "Princes and tycoons arrested and Saudi crackdown on corruption." And that is something that, Q is obviously alleging that Trump is doing, is cracking down on corruption. So this is kind of a sign that Q is real to a lot of people. Here's another one where here's an actual Q drop. Q says, "We have a special place picked out for, we're assuming, George Soros. It's really special." And then within a few, I think it's actually days later. Yeah, 7 days later, Donald Trump says, "What a wonderful weekend at Camp David, a very special place." And people think the wording of those two is similar enough that this means that they are connected, that Q knows Trump or that Trump knows Q. Here's another pretty obscure one. It's a picture of a blurry picture of a pen with a sort of seal of the United States stationery under it, and it's Q saying Merry Christmas. And that was on December 12th. And within 10 minutes, somebody supposedly did some sort of analysis that showed that this pen is on a desk at Camp David. I don't know how you do that, but that's what they're saying. And within 10 minutes of this drop by Q, Trump tweeted Happy Hanukkah, and this supposedly puts them in the same place at the same time at Camp David. Again, that one seems weird to me. I don't know why that's a proof, but it is, I guess. And again, people are probably mad at me right now if they are Q supporters, because they're probably like, "Oh my God, there's way better evidence than that." And so if so, I'm very sorry. But the point is, there is some evidence that these two seem to be linked. And one of the other pieces of evidence that people like to look to is that the media hates Trump. And they're always, like, even in ridiculous, stupid ways, criticizing him for things that, like, it's just insane. I'm sure you've noticed. Unless you're just a rabid Q hater and you can't possibly notice. But it is pretty weird how obsessively anti-Trump they are and how ridiculously anti-Trump in ways that are tiny. And they seem to treat Q in the same exact way, with extreme derision and dismissal. And so if Q is so meaningless, then why would you work so hard to attack it, is the question. So they obviously, it gives Q a little bit more legitimacy if the media takes time to attack him at all, which makes sense to me. It is actually interesting that they would take the time. And I actually found this article first before anything else. This article is being cited here by New York Mag. And it is, I read this very first paragraph here and I was like, oh, this is not the article I want to use, because I want something that's at least somewhat more objective. But they go by, they just tear it apart and they just say like how ridiculous it is. And it's all, people who are kind of obsessed and paranoid, and the same things that they like to say about any of our conspiracy theories, right? So yeah, so that's some of the proof that Q might be something that is actually connected to Donald Trump. It does seem like Trump is connected to it, knows about it. So it's either Trump, someone close to Trump, or maybe a whole team of people surrounding Trump is involved. That seems clear enough. Whatever Q is, it seems like it is definitely connected to Trump in some way. And there are sometimes hopeful things that go on. Like just the other day, I saw some evidence that maybe some kids are being pulled out of sex trafficking tunnels or something during this whole Corona Shmona shutdown or whatever. And it's like, oh, maybe they are cracking down on that. That'd be really cool. I would love to think that, And so there are some hopeful aspects sometimes and things that are like, maybe that's real. Who knows? But overall, nothing has really seemed to come from most of the things that Q has predicted. Especially when Q has been associated with certain dates. Like, I guess sometimes Q will say, like, on this date there's going to be riots, and then there isn't. And so it's always silly when you're trying to be a prophet to pick a specific date, because it almost never happens. But that's what's seemed to happen so far. But what we know for sure is a lot of energy has come from people and gone into this Q phenomenon. A lot of energy. I mean, there's people who spend most of their free time researching and like making memes for the Q movement and just pouring themselves into it. And I cannot criticize that, because if it is real, then it's definitely something you'd want to be a part of, propelling, and bringing to fruition. But either way, there's a lot of energy, a lot of emotion involved in this from a lot of people. So those are the three aspects of Trump's Trinity make him thrice great. Right? We know the Trinity is one of the most powerful aspects of reality. And so if you're looking at this and you're if you've seen and looked into any of these things, you're kind of like looking like, wow, is it this ancient chaos that's come, to bring Trump to greatness and maybe like save our shitty political system from, Hillary and the likes and the sort of same old. And if you look at it that way, of this ancient Kek power, it's sort of messianic, right? It's sort of this immense power. And you can imagine it being used for good. And you can be like, this is actually kind of cool. This is very strange and very cool. And then you can look at the time travel shit. And you can be like, dude, did he get like time travel stuff from his uncle who like took it from, the deathbed of Nikola Tesla? And is he using it to get power and to sort of arrange things? And if you look at it that way, it's like messianic. And it has a great power behind it. And you can imagine it being used for good. And if you look at the Q storm and QAnon drops and all of that, it's the same. You're like, Trump has come to lead the way and save all these kids and kill all the corruption and change the world. And it's very messianic and it's for great power. And you can imagine it being used for good. So no matter which one you sort of, tap into, this is a tripartite way to sort of steal energy or not. Maybe it's real. I don't want to judge too much, but I'm like, the ancient chaos magic part can speak to a lot of people who are into like magic and ancient mysteries and like all that sort of stuff. The time travel part can appeal to people who are more sort of scientific, but still have like a fantastical eye towards things maybe. And the Q storm can appeal to the people who are neither of those things, but really still want to look at this as a savior. This is sort of the most practical one, almost, the Q phenomenon. And so either way, it's like there's three really easy to fall into grooves that you can travel down, and all of them lead to this same energy and this same outcome. So even though you have those three choices, you really have one conclusion to them, right? All three of them are, like I said, messianic. There's prophetic elements to all of them, and they're all about power transition, right? They're all about like bringing all of this power out from this old, outdated, shitty political system we have where everyone's oppressed, and just like transforming it into something new and possibly exciting. And in all of them, you just trust. Your role in it is to trust, right? All of them lead various types of people, like I was saying, can like tap into each of those three, one or all, and be brought into that movement and offer their energy to that movement. Again, whether you think of it that way or not, if you're like focusing on it and like feeling emotions about it, you're adding energy to it. And all three play directly into end time scenarios, sometimes in good ways and sometimes in bad ways, but all of them do. They all lead into this end time sort of situation that we have possibly going on. And definitely into current prophecy fulfillment, which I would have to do a whole show on. There's like so many things in prophecy that are coming to be right now. And all of them suck massive amounts of energy from people. And again, whether you like it or not, or intend to or not, when you're putting your energy into those things, a very skilled magician is able to take that energy and charge whatever magic they would like with that energy. It's freely offered and it's loose out there being directed in that way. So it's easy for them to grab. So even if you chose none of those, if you're someone who like doesn't even know any of those three things, you're still having your emotional energy caught up, most likely. Right? So this is a really ingenious trap because you either fell into one of those three things or one of these. You're either a hater and a detractor and you're like, fuck Trump all day, every day, and you're still offering your energy. Or you're supporting him just without knowing about Keck or Q or, time travel, but you're just like, yeah, he's a cool guy, and you're like cheering him on or whatever. It's like, it's almost like 100% of people are caught into this spell. So there's some prophecy. There's some prophecy surrounding this motherfucker and this motherfucker and this motherfucker. Hopefully you can see those pictures. There's Jared Kushner there in the middle. The dude's weird. The dude has a lot going on. Could be misdirection. I don't fucking know. I'm not God. But he's married to Ivanka, Trump's daughter. And he's an advisor to Trump, or I think he's not anymore now. I don't know, dude. I can't keep track of all this shit. But he was, at least. And he definitely purchased 666 Fifth Avenue, which was like, why do you even have a property named 666? Like, I know they can skip numbers. They do it in buildings with the number 13, but they clearly wanted 666 Fifth Avenue to be a thing. And he purchased that building, and it was a big deal, not because of the number, because no one gave a shit, about 666 apparently, but it was a big deal because it was the most money ever paid for a real estate transaction in the history of ever. And so it was a big deal. It's like a big dick swinging sort of thing. He's like, yo, look at me. And in that building apparently was Lucent Technologies, which we all know is Luciferian. So that's interesting connection too. And he is said to be the person who's going to broker the peace between Palestine and Israel finally, which would definitely be prophetic. Netanyahu and him are so close that people have written about like how close they are, and that Jared Kushner has the ear of Netanyahu, and they say shit about, it's like weird things you wouldn't even necessarily say, like Netanyahu slept in Kushner's bed when he came to visit or something. You're just like, what are you even talking about this for? It's like they're known to be very close. And randomly this coming Easter, the one that's in a few days, there's going to be the first sacrifice at the temple that has been performed for thousands of years by the Jewish practitioners there. Trump moved the Jerusalem to wherever, Israel has access to it basically again. And so Jewish people can now finally do their sacrifices at the temple itself on Easter. And so it'll be the first time in thousands of years that has happened. So that fulfills prophecy as well. There's various aspects of this that fulfill prophecy, and I am, again, not going to get into all of them because that's not what we're about, but it's interesting to note all of this energy around Trump and how it ties in with other things that seem to be prophetic. So when you're thinking about prophecy or any of this shit, of course you want to use discernment. And one of the things that I notice when I look at these, the trifecta or the Trinity that Trump has going on, is that no human being could pull this shit off on purpose. There is no human being who could manage all three of those vast, overwhelming, I don't even know what you want to call them, aspects of the Trinity at one time. I don't even know if one human could pull off one of them. The time travel thing, probably, yeah. That one's like doesn't have a lot of actual evidence and is pretty like thin. But Q is pretty complex, and that whole Keck thing is literally impossible to pull off by a person. All of those numbers repeating and stuff, I mean, all the culture and all the various humans that it went into making that shit happen is like not going to be pulled off by a person. So all three at once is especially unlikely. It could be that perhaps a large group of people working over, many years, like this is thousands of years now, because we went all the way back to ancient Egypt. And then we also had stuff from, 1892, and then we had stuff from 1986. So it's like all throughout time, throughout thousands of years, these people would have been working. And we do know that there are groups that have been working for thousands of years. And so it could be that this group planned all of this and maneuvered it into happening. And you could do the whole 4chan Keck sort of thing. You could at least make it more likely. The number part, it makes it the part that's least likely to be a human entity controlling it. But you could place people in there that were pushing Pepe or like saying Keck, or like you can have your agents placed to sort of direct culture. So that could be just this group of people over thousands of years. Or it could perhaps be a consciousness more vast and more capable than humanity's consciousness is. And I'm talking specifically of demonic consciousnesses, or fallen angelic consciousnesses, that could definitely pull off all of those things very easily without even trying very hard. And so I lean more towards that myself. And perhaps AI, not even perhaps, AI definitely could pull off most of that, especially if you're one of the people who believes that AI has been around for thousands of years, or especially if you're like me and think that AI is demonic. Then they're talking about the same thing in these two. And that's what I lean towards, because I don't see, again, how a human, even a group of humans, could pull all three of those things off in coexisting with one another. So we want to think about that, and we want to discern, is it possible that that's all for our benefit? Sure. I mean, it could be, right? Could be that some other dimensional consciousness has arranged all this and like time traveled and fucking blah 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 to make like Trump be in this position so that he could save the world. It could happen. I'm not totally opposed. Or is it possible that it's designed to enrapture as many various types of people and energies from as many places in our society and our world as possible in order to more easily pull off who knows what all? That seems more likely to me. Especially since it's not being done openly in the light of day with all of our consent and knowledge. Is it possible that it's all an accident? Like, fuck no. If this was all an accident, it'd be the most crazy 1 in a billion Trinity, like infinity fucking ever. Like, it's not possible that all three of those aspects of those Trinity things that I laid out could be an accident. It's very unlikely. I would say it's impossible. So yeah, it's not accidental. It's happening on purpose from probably beyond human consciousness and not likely for my benefit, or else I'd probably be a part of it and know about it openly. That's how I look at it. And also we're warned from like every ancient text, all sort of spiritual sects and books and teachings, to keep our eyes open and to watch for deception, especially deception that seems like it is wrapped in flavors of being our savior. And there's really no reason for us to even claim to know if these are real or not, or you know what they are, or to even offer up any emotional response to them at all. There's no altar that deserves our emotional responses. We don't need to get wrapped up in any of those things. If they're happening and they're good and true and beautiful, they're going to happen and it's cool. Like, we don't need to offer our emotion to them, right? And so we just want to make sure we continue to question everything that comes along, especially when they are things coming along wrapped up, again, with those tones of messianic savior complexes and shit. Because there is no savior for you besides yourself, I would say. Unless we want to get into talking about Jesus, which we don't have to do. But, you know, Jesus is within you anyway, so... So that's the Trinity of Trump that I have seen as being beyond human capability to create intentionally. It's definitely within our ability to add in a chaos magic sort of way, in a hyper-charging, hyper-sigil sort of manner, to create all of those things, which is the unfortunate part, because I think it's like all of our potential, we just sort of like shot it in a fucking wad into 4chan as a joke, and it turned into like this shit, which is crazy. So I want to go into something else really, really crazy. Oh, wow, that was an hour. You guys are amazing. I'm sorry about the images. I hope the rest of them turned out, but I do want to go into one more thing that connects with this weirdly that I came across today. But first I want to check the chat and see if there's questions or people that I can answer questions or say what's up to. What's up, Trey Clark? Good to see you. Like I said, I have both Baron von Trump's Marvelous Underground Adventures and The Last President as EPUBs. If you want them, email me. I will put my email in the chat right now. And I will email you those if you want them. I'm going to say, what's up, Alan Marcus? What's up, Soulmate Healing? Nice to see you. What's up, Will? Kofefe. Oh, if you didn't hear yet, Kofefe is interesting because Cove is like COVID, and Fefe is, I think, in the Philippines, maybe? Fefe means instilling fear. So COVID, instilling fear, is interesting. There's some fucking magic for you there. Was it Q who predicted the internet shutdown? Well, actually, Q supposedly has said there might be an internet shutdown, but also Event 201 that Bill Gates and his cronies put on that simulated the coronavirus pandemic right before the coronavirus pandemic started in November. That Event 201 also they practiced shutting down various aspects of the internet, especially social media sites. And so that might be what you're thinking of. Dad Gummit is here. What's up, Dad Gummit? DD Specs is here. What's up? Rogue Cow is here. Alan Marcus is here. I don't know if I already said hi to you, Alan Marcus. For some reason, I feel like I did, but we had a Chris Phoenix leave and a Chris Phoenix return. Glad you're back, Chris. Will is here. Ooh, good call. Well, we did have the other aspects of possible, like, time travel shit with Biff, the president, and in Back to the Future 3. Or Back to the Future, all of them. I don't know which ones. I'm not good at pop culture. And I don't know how far back did I go. Alright, I think I got caught up. If I missed a question, you have one, let me know. So I'm not actually Christian. I'm Christian in the sense that Christian as a word means to be Christ-like, and I would love to aim to be Christ-like because Jesus kicks ass as far as I can tell. He kicked out the fucking moneylenders and threw tables around and told people that they should love everyone, including prostitutes, and all that is good in my book. And especially when you get into then the deeper spiritual aspects of his message to people, which is that you are your own path to God. Like he said, I am the way, follow me. That's you are the way then too. So to go within and to look within for your spiritual connection to God, and that can never be destroyed, and all these things I love. And so I can call myself a Christian in that aspect, although I don't support any church. My church is wherever I'm at. And I definitely don't promote people, again, giving their energy to any other altar except the altar of their heart and their connection to other hearts and souls in this plane. So I don't promote worship, and I don't promote giving away your energy no matter what it is. But yeah, so I talk about Jesus because I love him and I think he's awesome. And, I think that the angelic realms are real, and I think that Satan and his sort of plan is real. And I think that it's probably better to align yourself with what's good, true, and beautiful than what's satanic and Luciferian. And I think eating people and poop and magic rituals to do with blood and semen like they do with spirit cooking and all that shit is pretty fucking foul. And I think that whether you call yourself a Christian or not, you should probably be against that if you're a good kind of human. That's where I'm at with all that. I don't really know that labels are helpful, but I do want to show you guys this other thing. This is pretty weird. This is, the Beast System Revealed. So this is on avoidthemark.com. And it's called What is the Mark of the Beast? It says the mark of the beast isn't what you think. Trump, QAnon, Saint Germain, and COVID-19. This is an amazingly well thought out, really well done article. I guess it is based on the Probably Alexandra YouTube channel. So let's actually look at that. Because I haven't looked at this yet. Like I said, I just found this today, so I'm not what I'm about to do is look at it the same as you would if you first saw it. So if you want to check out now and go look at this yourself, I totally get it. But I wanted to at least show you guys. So Probably Alexandra, she looks neat. 24,000 subscribers. Go girl. Maybe I can interview her soon. Maybe we can get her on. But I guess she did a video, which we could probably find if we looked, about this. And I don't know. It looks like she's got a lot of videos, so we would have to see. Lucifer's Playground? No. Cult of Kek? Oh, she's talking about it too. What is the Mark of the Beast? Maybe it's that one. I'm not sure. But anyway, I guess they're citing her because they got a lot of these ideas from her, and it is used with her permission, so that's cool. So it's talking about, with COVID-19 and all of this authoritarian lockdown that we're under, we were trying to be vigilant. We're trying to keep our eyes open and look at this objectively and sort of keep aware. And I like that they point out here the Mark of the Beast is not an RFID chip implant, because that is, of course, the most commonly sort of guessed, like that's probably what it's going to be. And especially with this COVID-19 thing, I know myself, I've considered if they're going to force a vaccine, which seems like they're kind of looking towards. That's at least what Bill Gates would like to do. And we know how much he loves eugenics and killing people. And so I can imagine there's going to be some bad shit in that vaccine and perhaps an RFID chip implant. But as people have pointed out, why would they need to chip us all? We all have phones and we walk around and we have facial recognition. And, why do they need to track us like that? So I like that she says that, because then right away we're getting into something new here. It's not that this person's ideas of what the Mark of the Beast are something completely different from that. So that's interesting. I still would refuse the vaccine myself either way, but let's read on. And we know the Mark of the Beast in the Bible is described as, everybody's going to have to get it. It has something to do with the number 666. It's going to be on your arm or your forehead. You're not going to be able to buy or sell without it. I like this. Your right hand represents your work and deeds, and your forehead represents your thoughts and will. Right? So now we're taking it to, if it's going to be in your right hand or your forehead, then maybe the Mark of the Beast has more to do with what you're doing and what you think about it and where you've put your will. So that's really interesting already. The end game for those who choose the Mark of the Beast is detailed. Drink the wrath of God, straight out of his cup of indignation, tormented with fire and brimstone, in the presence of holy angels. The smoke of their torment ascends forever, no rest day or night. Those who worship the beast and take his mark or his name. So that's not good. We don't want that. So, is it happening right now? It doesn't. So this section outlines how it doesn't come from an individual called the Antichrist. It actually comes from a system, which they call the beast system. And she kind of outlines that there's two sort of sides going on, and one is the beast system. And then she or he or whoever's writing this differentiates between the beast system and the false prophet system. And they also call the false prophet system the alliance. So there's two sort of, competing systems, a beast system and a false prophet system. I mean, I want to dig into this way more than we're going to do on this video, but I just want to run through the ideas with you guys because I think it's fascinating. The first beast, the beast system, has lied to us about the mark. They've sort of tried to get us to think that it's like this electronic or like an RFID implant or social credit systems or these types of things. And they kind of go through how we're sort of conditioned through TV and, media and all culture to believe that. And to believe that the Antichrist is a specific person instead of a system. And so it's interesting. They're pointing out that that's not actually ever said in the Bible. And that's an interesting to know. But these two beasts, I like that. This is interesting too. This is different than I've heard it described before. This right hand or left hand path we hear about in magic. And this person describes both of those as light and dark, bad and evil, not good and evil. They're both bad. One's bad and one's worse. Again, I'm not saying that I'm like fully in support or agreement with this. Like I said, I just found this today. I just find it interesting, and it seemed to connect with what I was talking about with the Trinity of Trump and that whole harvesting of emotions and energy that's going on with those. And then this came along and I was like, interesting. So not a single man rising to power, more like a cabal or the deep state or the elite or a system. All right. And pointing out, of course, it couldn't be one person. If it's a worldwide agenda, it has to be a lot of people working together. A left versus right deception. We can relate to that. If there's this left-hand path and right-hand path, but they both end up at the same, just completely corrupted end, then what was the point? And that's sort of like Democrats and Republicans. We can relate. And then that keeps us from learning who truly rules over us, because we get caught up in defining just one of those enemies or the other. All right, then they go through the Federal Reserve banking system, controlling the nation's money, all kinds of stuff here to think about. Of course, that's part of the system. The banking cartel runs human trafficking, drug trafficking, satanic ritual abuse, pagan idolatry, child sacrifice, slavery, and the strategic rejection of truth. Those have all been going on, yes. So that's all the banking system and that sort of all this stuff that I just listed. That's all they're saying the cabal or the beast system, and that is the Antichrist. Interesting. And they follow the Talmud, which is the most Antichrist book in existence. Not my words. So could one man be somehow more blasphemous of God than the current world we already live in? Or is it this whole system? All right, then they go into the rapture, but it's misrepresented. So I guess you'd have to, I don't know, maybe they go into that at a different place. RFID chip implants. So this is sort of like a red herring, right? I guess in this person's idea, the RFID chip implants are just kind of convenient, but it actually cheapens the massive and worldwide event that's going to be the true mark. The real mark will be based on biblical truth and actual historical events, leading up to a worldwide quantum currency reset. And this is the part where it gets really fascinating to me, because this is the shit that everyone is cheering on and super excited about. So that is fascinating that this might be a trap. People usually conjure up fantastical ideas. One day the world's going to turn upside down. Everyone will know the end is here. But we don't live in the movies. Remember, 2,000 years ago, nearly everyone missed the first coming of Jesus because they were all looking for a king, someone they deemed worthy of being a Messiah. Just like in those days, looking for a sign today that says 666 in some sensational RFID technology is not rooted in reality. Could be, it could be. And if RFID implant is a technology that could potentially be forced on you, the mark of the beast will be freely chosen by each individual, not forced upon them. That is a good point. But I always imagine like the vaccine thing I was saying, you'd have to choose it. Like, yeah, I want the vaccine, give it to me. And then if you don't, like, you can't buy or sell or something. I don't know. But I like where they're going with this. Let's see where it goes. They do have to work within rules, spiritual principles. They're not allowed to break the rules, like free will. So unless we give them our permission, they cannot achieve what they set out to. I agree. I have experienced that. It is true as far as I know. We really do have free will, and you really do have freedom of choice, and they really cannot break those rules, even if they would like to. Malevolent forces, fallen angels, disembodied spirits of the Nephilim, or demons cannot do anything without our consent. And she kind of goes into how prophecy is difficult to pin down on an exact date or time because it's all quantum and it's all like probabilities, and so you don't know when exactly it's going to come about. You can just sort of plan for it and push for it. So this is the part that is the most interesting, and this is this Nasara, Gesara, and Saint Germain section. Because, dude, just all of a sudden in the past week, I've started hearing of Nasara and Gesara. And Saint Germain is a weird entity. You know, that a lot of people, especially like the sort of new age push, like really like Saint Germain. And I also just watched Dracula. I mean, like, I just watched Dracula last night, like most of the Dracula series, the animated one that's on Netflix or whatever, and Saint Germain pops up. So then I saw this and I was like, Saint Germain? And my only other experience with Saint Germain is someone telling me that they saw him at like a water, at the headwaters of the Sacramento, I think, in Shasta, which is interesting. And so that's my experience with Saint Germain, but weirdly just like saw him in a cartoon last night and here he is in this article today. So back to the article. Saint Germain, there's an artist's rendition of Saint Germain. And so this has been in the works. They're pointing out throughout human history, this Saint Germain thing. This is so weird. I've never heard anything about this part. This is the part that's fascinating to me. So right here it says, a better description of him, Saint Germain, is a fallen angel known as Lucifer, who is also called Gadriel. The Book of Enoch references Gadriel and calls him the angel who deceived Eve in the Garden of Eden. I don't know how this person connected Saint Germain to Lucifer or Gadriel, but they did. And so I don't think, maybe if I click on this, it'll give me some sort of how they connected that. No, it's just about this. So I don't know, that like, it's like the Wikipedia articles are there, like, this part needs more references. Like, I don't know how they made that jump, but let's just see where they go with it anyway. Oh, sorry, Castlevania, not Dracula. Thank you for clearing that note. This is why I'm bad at pop culture. I'm like, it's the vampire show from back when. Okay. 1729, Saint Germain was working on the establishment of funding a new world monetary trust. So this is like a real dude at one point, but people feel like he ascended or whatever, and he's an ascended master and whatnot. So this trust apparently now contains the majority of the wealth that will be distributed to the world once the new financial reset takes place. Again, I don't know where they're getting that information, but apparently he started this trust and it has a shitload of money. This Nasara and Gasara concept, like I said, I personally just started seeing this in the past like week or two and hearing about it. I don't know how long it's been around. I don't know why I never heard about it before then, but here it is again. It stands for the National Economic Security and Reformation Act. Like, is this a real act right now? I don't know. I just found this today. I didn't have time to research. Let's see what I can find. Was a set of proposed economic reforms suggested during the 1990s. Okay, so it's like not happening right now. 2012, history of it. Okay, so it's a thing that people have been calling for a while, I guess. It was proposed in the 90s by some dude. And then there's the global version of that same thing. So the United States is where it was first proposed, at least. So apparently for centuries, elite families who follow the light are the Luciferian families that we are familiar with, like Lucent Trust and Lucent Technologies, which Jared Kushner owns the building of. They've been contributing to this World Trust, started by Saint Germain. And Saint Germain specifically stated that the money in this World Trust would be used in the future for prosperity and humanitarian purposes. Again, I don't know where that's coming from. Let's just see if we can find anything. Saint Germain's World Trust. Am I saying that right? It's just a poem. I just want like something that says like, yes, this is an actual trust and it has this much money in it, but I don't know how you would even... The Saint Germain Foundation. Shasta Springs. See, that person I knew that said they saw Saint Germain at Shasta. That's weird. And in Denver, Colorado. The doctrines of the organization are based on teachings and wisdom received by Guy Ballard in 1930. Ballard also, I think, started the suburb of Ballard in Seattle. Oh yeah, Seattle, Washington. Interesting. Organization's philosophy is known as the I Am activity. And its members popularly known as I Am students. So that's a little reference to Jesus, or possibly an inversion of Jesus's ideas. I don't know, I don't see anything in here about like a trust or money, but like I don't even know if this is related. Anyway, let's just keep reading. So, over 250 years of contributions by the rich and elite followers of light, or Luciferians, and compounding interest, Saint Germain's World Trust is over 1 quattordecillion. I've never even heard that word. Dollars. That's 1 with 45 zeros behind it. Jesus, look at those zeros. I've never seen any number that big. I mean, I guess I've probably seen it in scientific notation, but let's see. Nope, that side's unavailable. Okay. It's important to note that the United States was none other than Saint Germain's own Masonic experiment. Again, no reference, no understanding why they say that, but just we're supposed to just accept that's true. So I guess it's because the U.S. is supposed to... Do they say he is the Christ on earth now? No, they don't. I think they said I think people who follow the New Age sort of philosophies think that he was a Christ consciousness and a Christ, Christ-like being on earth then, in the 1700s or whenever. And that's why they call him like an ascended master. So, but he dead. He been dead. So they're saying Saint Germain's plan from the very beginning was that his trust would be launched in the U.S. under the name Nasara and would be the first country to distribute the prosperity funds. Oh, there's another article. Lucifer's greatest deception is here. Saint Germain, the World Trust in the Light. Oh, here's another really good one. This was published the next day. I may have to go into that later and see that one too. So they get into how that money is going to come to us in this modern form as a deception. So draining the swamp, the false prophet system. Some guy created an Nasara proposal during the 80s and 90s. He printed 1,000 copies. Draining the swamp. No way. How did this never come up before? All Donald Trump and all the Q people talk about is draining the swamp, and this guy had in the 90s and 80s a proposal called Draining the Swamp. Have you guys ever heard of this? I've never heard of this. By the way, I'm just going to throw this link in here. So if you guys want to follow along, you can. That's crazy. Draining the Swamp. Okay. Sounds familiar. Yes. It died. It didn't gain traction. But it said that Nasara was secretly passed by the U.S. Congress on March 9th, 2000. And that the military forced Bill Clinton to sign it. Again, there's no details, no information showing that that's true, but maybe, I guess it's possible. But yes, the military, the ones especially the QAnon movement is very, very gung-ho about the military being, on our side and here to sort of take back the world from the dark Kabbalists and the Clintons and whatnot. And that's cool. Like if that could happen, I'm all for it. I am not anti-military by any means. I'm anti-oppression, I'm anti-force, and military can be that, but they can also be a power for good if they choose to be, so I'm not wholeheartedly against them, but that is interesting that the military may have forced this Nasara into law somehow. Again, I don't know why, there's no documentation showing it, but let's see. They say that Trump actually came out of the Paris Agreement in 2019. Hold up. Gesara is part of the Paris Agreement that was signed into law in 2015. So again, that should have... Let's just see. Gesara Paris Agreement. You guys may be like, yeah, duh, you didn't know, but I don't know. Paris Agreement? I don't see anything about Gesara. Voted to be implemented by all 209 nations of the world. Huh. Well, maybe then. So Trump then took us out of the Paris Agreement in 2019, and they're saying the reason was that the U.S. is not part of Gesara. That's the global version. We are going to have Nasara, which is just our national version. and that it had nothing to do with climate change. It was just so that we could have our own United States specific version called Nasara, and that we're going to do ours first, apparently. But as a program, Nasara can be viewed from a couple different perspectives. The New Age says that Nasara is a spiritually directed financial program that can be attributed back to Saint Germain. It was designed to provide a new economic system for the world during the time of transition. It's interesting because that, this is part of what, when I was reading it today, I was like, dude, this ties in perfectly because those, Trinity aspects of Trump, the three different methods that we looked at, that all of our energies are being sort of sucked into this transition, is how we sort of looked at it, right? That all of these are a transition from what we have known into something new and something coming into being, perhaps birthed from an ancient chaos. And here they're describing it in a similar way during a time of transition. And again, it has to do with draining the swamp. So the power is shifting from the dark cabal or the Antichrist system to the alliance or the false prophet system, from the first beast to the second beast, like they were saying, the left hand and the dark hand. And like Q likes to say, from dark to light. That's also interesting with the Luciferian aspects. However, this is a false light masquerading as a real thing, promising humanity a glorious future after the cabal is taken down. And we've got this new age, the Piscean age into the age of Aquarius. We've been talking about it for since the 60s. I still don't know. I still have not gotten a solid answer on when that happens. You'd think that if it's a thing about stars and their movements in places that, what is happening? Sorry guys, lost my screen here. Anywho's. I totally lost my train of thought, sorry. Oh, the Aquarius thing. Yeah, I don't know. If it's about stars and where they're at, I don't know why we can't get an exact date and minute that it's going to happen, but I haven't been able to find that. Let me know if you have. But anyway, we're transitioning, I guess, into the age of Aquarius. Saint Germain says that he is the teacher of the Aquarian age. Unfortunately, he'll never get to have his own millennial reign after this financial reset. Why? Because he's Lucifer. And this is the mark, the last prophecy before the return of Jesus. The World Trust was supposed to be distributed to the world at the beginning of what Saint Germain called Christendom's second millennium, or the year 2000. But of course, like we were saying earlier, with time is all wibbly wobbly, and I don't think you can measure it that precisely. Otherwise, I think it maybe would have happened. But this person's pointing out that they couldn't have done it yet because biblical prophecy hadn't yet been fulfilled in various ways. Then they were going to do it, announce Nasara on September 11th, but then the World Trade Center happened, and all this gold was stolen by the cabal, and so there's kind of, I guess, this two systems, the beast system and the false prophet system, are sort of battling. I don't know. Then they talk about the global seed vault and how maybe that's where the gold was put, blah, blah, blah. As far as I'm not as interested in this as this Nasara and Gesara stuff, because there's a contract coming up that's interesting. So these people are now working directly with Donald Trump to bring about the new worldwide quantum financial system. We do hear echoes of this right now when they're talking about making us all a digital wallet and using blockchain technology to have our monies organized and transacted. And that's been part of these bills that they've been passing that has to do with the COVID virus and fucking money, getting money to us and all this bullshit. It's all bullshit, but they've been finally actually bringing that into legal terms. And so we see this on our horizon in the US at least. And then again, the Fed was brought into the Treasury. And so that's also another piece of it that's interesting. And so yeah, events are lining up in biblical prophecy. We see these things sort of being arranged that we could get our currency sort of digitized and whatever. And are they saying that he is Lucifer? But they're saying that Saint Germain is Lucifer in this article. They're not saying that Trump is Lucifer or the Antichrist. They're actually saying that Antichrist is the entire system that we have going on. But this person is also saying that some of the New Age people claim that Saint Germain is in fact Donald Trump. Donald Trump is Saint Germain and therefore Lucifer. So that doesn't make him the Antichrist. That makes him Lucifer. But that's pretty interesting. I don't know how you just get to that. I don't know how you just jump to that. I don't know how they jump to Saint Germain being Lucifer even. So this is like yet another jump that I don't see. But the Nasara and Gassara stuff is interesting. The Drain the Swamp connection is interesting. The idea that it's supposed to come about in a time of transition is interesting. We're definitely in a time of transition. So the time is here to nearly here to release the prosperity funds from Saint Germain's World Trust. Why? Because those who were controlling the current monetary system of central banking are simply no longer in control. So it is interesting too that if this is true, there is some truth to the whole Q movement. There is draining the swamp and sort of fighting back or changing power over from that old cabal into the new, but it doesn't mean it's a good thing. So, okay. So the Saint Germain World Trust has reached 1 in 45 zeros, lots of money. So it says, first, these Nasara funds will be used to buy out all oil corporations, banks, pharmaceutical cartels, and zeros out all of their debt. Once those funds are paid out, the remaining funds will be distributed to the people. That's you and me. We're people. Here's what they plan on doing with it for every citizen who signs a personal contract. Forgive mortgage and bank debt. Eliminate the Federal Reserve System. Abolish income taxes. Abolish the IRS. Create flat rate non-essential new items only sales tax revenue to fund the government. Drastically increase the benefits to senior citizens. Return true constitutional law to all citizens. New presidential and congressional elections within 120 days of Nasara's announcement. New U.S. Treasury currency, the rainbow currency. The rainbow currency. Dude, check this out. Did you guys see the Queen's address today? I know it seems like I'm jumping. Why am I searching here and not YouTube? Sorry. Let me just go back. This is a really minor point. It's just really synchronistic. This batty fucking bitch gave this speech today. I'm just going to skip to
They continue their day-to-day duties.
Outside
the home. In support.
Look at her fucking face, has no emotion. She's just a soulless, vapid bitch. Check this out, though. Speaking about a rainbow currency.
As an expression of our national spirit. And its symbol will be the rainbows drawn by children.
The rainbows drawn by children. Her evil voice saying that is sickening. It's the symbol of coming out of COVID and our return to health and well-being is the rainbows drawn by children. Or perhaps the rainbow currency backed by gold, silver, platinum, and other precious metals. So it's just a random synchronicity. I just saw that and was like, huh? Hold up, I just saw someone say that Drew says hi Drew, says the age of Aquarius started February 4th, 1962, according to the SAW. I don't know what the SAW is, but okay, well, fuck, there's a date. Thank you. So we've been in the age of Aquarius, all right, I guess. End the bankruptcy of the United States. Stop all special interest groups. Closely monitor elections. Establish worldwide peace. Bring home the troops. No standing armies. Release enormous money for humanitarian purposes. Enable the release of thousands of suppressed technologies. Yes, that includes all of Tesla's stuff. Anti-gravity, free energy, all that stuff. Heal everybody. Initiate the first phase of worldwide prosperity and distributing the vast wealth that has been accumulating for hundreds of years. Wow. Does that not sound just like the best thing that could ever happen? I was like, wait, why is this coming from evil then? How is this supposedly evil? This is great. This is what we all have always wanted, all these things. Why wouldn't we want those things? So I'm like, what the fuck is the catch, you know? And it's like Nasara and Gassara will create an entirely new system worldwide currency. It's going to be backed by gold. It's going to run on the blockchain. It's going to be unhackable. Like, it sounds amazing. This sounds like great. Like, why would we not want to do that? I want to do it. It sounds great. Eliminate voter fraud. Eliminate dark web illegal activity. The new gold's coming from St. Germain's World Trust. Unprecedented. And of course, we have to sign an oath. Before we, the people, can accept these funds, each individual will be required to make a pledge to use this money for humanitarian purposes, or to make some sort of large-scale oath to humanity. Not surprisingly, there's already a blueprint for that, and it reads as such. I am not saying this oath for any other reasons than academic and instructional. I'm not making an oath. I make no oaths, and I rescind all oaths that may have seemed to have been made. Upon this eternal oath, I freely pledge to dedicate my mind to the discovery of knowledge, dedicate my soul to the pursuit of enlightenment, dedicate my efforts to the process of abundance, dedicate my existence to bringing all people and all places into unification, and to dedicate my life and days upon this planet to the protection and abundance of the human species. Blah, blah, blah. Takes this eternal pledge. Eternal. And then I'm like, I don't like that. I don't want to make an oath to fucking who knows what. But it all sounds good. My mind and discovery of knowledge, sure. My soul pursues enlightenment, cool. My efforts are abundance, yeah. My existence to people and unification, like, unification's kind of creepy sounding, but I mean, I guess, like, if you're thinking the idea is that we're all in this together, then, like, that seems cool. Protect abundance of the human species. Like, I mean, it all sounds real good. It's still, I don't like the oath idea. I don't give oaths. I don't give oaths. I don't pledge myself to other things besides myself and my soul and its connection to God. And so that's pretty weird. But again, these things all sound nice. So, like, where's the trick? Is this a trick? It's an eternal pledge. I don't like that. Who's going to take an eternal pledge? That seems pretty fucking creepy. Like, you know, and then look at the fucking creepy, I don't know why it says Illuminati. I feel like someone just made this, like, as a joke, you know, because I don't think the Illuminati actually exists as, like, an organization called the Illuminati. It's just, like, a slang word to describe the cabal or whatever you want to say. But, so I think this is just, like, a fake thing, like, Illuminatium, authentic seal. Like, yeah, right. But this oath, I guess, exists somewhere. I don't know who made it. But yeah, it's like swearing an eternal oath doesn't sound that bad, right? It does actually sound bad. Eternal is a long time. I have an eternal soul. I don't want to make any oaths for eternity. And then they point out some biblical passages that strongly warn humans against making oaths. So there's a few of those. You can look up James 5:12 or Matthew 5:34 through 35, both saying don't swear oaths in heaven or on earth. No oaths. So this person points that out too, because they're coming from a Christian point of view, which is fine. People in the United States are the ones in most danger for signing this oath and accepting these funds, which is the mark of the beast. So this is what this person is saying is the mark of the beast, is that you will be offered all of those amazing things. Remember, those are amazing things. Who doesn't want that world? No debt, no bullshit, no overtaxing, no way to even fucking fake, like, there's no corruption available in the system that they're offering you. Why wouldn't you want that? And all you have to do is sign an eternal oath. That's the mark of the beast. It's freely chosen, right? There's no force about it. You don't have to choose that. Very interesting if this is true. Those in the U.S. will be first and probably won't realize that within a few days or weeks after they accept, the entire world will be on the exact same system. So I don't know why the United States is first and then the globe, but that's apparently the way it's supposed to go. And I haven't even looked past that point. That's as far as I looked into in this article. But apparently they're referencing the rough 2 weeks coming up that Trump had said was coming and that a lot of people are going to die. Apparently coming up. It's a week into that, right? It's the 5th. Oh, it's a few days into it at least. And I guess some more people are dying. I don't know. People die all the time. But we all like the idea of the Jubilee, which is the reset of all debts. I definitely have learned the Lord's Prayer that says, forgive our debts as we forgive our debtors, although I like forgive our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. It's the one that I usually say myself. They talk about, like, once this is coming about, there'll still be a grace period where your dollars that you have will still be accepted for a while, but they'll be taken out of circulation slowly. And so soon, if you haven't made the oath and accepted the Saint Germain Fund money, or Nasara or whatever, then you won't be able to buy or sell because you won't have any money. So that's interesting. They talk about King Solomon being an alchemist and how this is actually Saint Germain was also apparently King Solomon and Lucifer. So Lucifer was first King Solomon and then Saint Germain and now Trump, if you're following the logic of this article. And he was the richest man who ever lived when he was King Solomon. And he was associated with 666. And so this is how they're tying the 666, through time forward to now, is that it's this same being. So yeah, if that is the mark of the beast and it is coming and you do believe in prophecy and whatever, then that would mean that Jesus is returning shortly after then. Who knows what short is, though? That could be like decades, I don't know. But then they kind of encourage us to not fear or panic, but to trust, that we don't have to take that mark or whatever, and that Jesus will come back, and that the material world isn't what matters anyway, and so don't worry about those hardships. And Jesus faced decisions too about whether or not to accept all of what did Satan offer him? All these things I will give thee if you'll worship me. All the kingdoms of the world, if you'd only pledge an oath. So they're saying Jesus did it first, so don't worry, you can resist the urge too. So they've got some kind of nice ending support for us there. And yeah, that's the rabbit hole I fell down today. And there's clearly like a lot more to go into, especially like I was saying, I don't know how you just jump from like, Lucifer became Solomon, became Saint Germain, became Trump. I also don't know how you prove that this Saint Germain trust even exists. Clearly the Nasara and Gassara things are real ideas that have been circulating, but I would have to do a lot more research to understand how they've been proposed to be funded. Because I doubt in those proposals they said, like, let's just use Saint Germain's fund. Like, I don't know. I'd like to also like research more about the historical man himself of Saint Germain, because I don't know. The extent of my knowledge was the story I heard about Shasta and the Castlevania series, so that's not a lot. I don't know anything about Saint Germain. It's just so fascinating to me, because I'm like, this is like why? How would you not fall into this trap if you're just a person and you're not very like spiritually aware or whatever, and you're just like going through life and shit is always hard. It's like you have to fucking work and pay your bills, and you have taxes, and you've got like, the fucking political chaos, and then like coronavirus comes and it like seems to ravage everything, whether it is or not. The fucking economy is being destroyed, and so now you're in even more dire straits, and you're like, how the hell am I even going to survive? And then they come along and they're like, oh, word, we got you. We found all this money. It's just been sitting there for a long time, and we're going to use it for your benefit, and all you have to do is sign this thing, and all the things on there look like pretty cool. You're like, what, I just have to like be into like thinking, and like enlightenment and helping people? Like, yeah, I'll take it. Like, sign away. Like, why wouldn't you? I don't know why you wouldn't. I don't know how you would avoid this trap if you weren't like looking for it. If it, again, like I'm saying, like I would see that word eternal and I'd be like, no, what the fuck is this? And knowing what I don't know that much about, but like from interviewing Cal Washington the other day, and hearing about those types of ideas for the past few years about maritime law or lex mercatoria, or basically contract law, and how this is part of how spiritual entities deceive and sort of trap people on this realm is through contracts. Then then I'm like even more wary, because I'm like, this is actually perhaps a legally, spiritually, legally binding document that you fucking pledged your oath for eternity. Like, Jesus. But again, like, how is that even fair? If the people who are going to look at that and be offered it to sign it, and they don't understand those things, like, how could that, I just don't fucking get how that could be. Whatever, I'm still not going to sign it or do it. If it's a thing that happens, then I'll avoid it. And if it's not that, and the mark of the beast is something else, I'll also avoid that. If it's an RFID chip after all, and it's transferred into us via vaccine, I'll avoid that. I just want to be clear too, even if a vaccine was just a vaccine and had nothing else in it, I would still not take it, because it's disgusting. And vaccines are gross and they kill people. So just avoid all of that. And yeah, how do you wrap up all that bullshit? This is like what I really, when I look at this, history that has gone into the making of this time, it's insane. Because again, I can't look at Keck and Q and Baron von Trump's Marvelous Underground Adventures and not see an intelligence far superior to any human intelligence that has ever existed, creating all of those things to come together and to coalesce at this like concrescence of time right now that's been in motion for thousands of years, and to make all of those little details through time come about right now, and gather all of that energy and that's been just pumped into those phenomena by all kinds of people in all walks of life, right? And then to be like tricky enough to even grab the energy of the haters, that's all still flowing into the same fucking manifestation machine that consciousness is directing, that all of that has built up to like right here, right now, is crazy. It's crazy to me. And that's a lot of work, dude. It's a lot of work and a lot of planning. And if this whole Nasara, Gassara, Saint Germain thing is also a part of that, then it makes even more sense. Honestly, it's a really nice trap. Like really, really good. Like all of the New Age people would just jump right into that, right? If you're like, and I hate even using that term, and I don't mean to offend anybody, but if you're like in this mode of thought where you accept all sort of spiritual entities as like good, and a lot of New Age people have, there are no negative entities because they're just projections of yourself or whatever, this sort of shadow side, which is not the way I understand shadow side. I do have a shadow side, and we do have shadow sides, and that's not what they are. Then like there is no evil. There's no ancient evil that's been working against you for thousands of years in that realm, in that way of looking at the world, right? And Saint Germain is an ascended master, and why wouldn't you trust Saint Germain? Saint Germain's been saving all this money for you for all this time. And then you look at that list of good things you get, and then you look at the list of things you just have to do, and you're like, well, those are all the things I support anyway. I already want like the enlightenment of everyone and the well-being of everyone. That's the whole point of being alive. And you're like, yeah, we can do that for eternity. What's eternity? We're all in this together. Like we're all working, like it's like a really fucking good trap if it's a trap, but it's also not fair because people don't see it. I guess that's the point of a trap. Anyway, I feel like I'm rambling now. I just see all of those things coalescing into this like possible thing that's coming, and maybe not. Maybe that's all. Maybe the Gassara Saint Germain shit is bullshit. I don't know. Like I said, I just found it today, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's worth it's definitely worth looking into more and seeing how to avoid it, or how to try to warn other people if it does seem like that's legit and what's coming, to at least even if you're out there right now listening to this and you're like, what, I'll fucking sign that, give me the money. At least consider the word eternal. If this becomes a thing and you're actually offered this and there is actually a contract, think, why would I have to do a contract? If you're doing this for humanitarian reasons and Saint Germain's such a good dude, why do I need a contract for it? Why can I not just go along with it, why do I have to sign my shit away for eternity? So keep those things in mind. And maybe point them out to other people if they seem like they're going to be swayed by it. And the end idea for all of that is if you don't know that you're a soul, then you don't know that eternity matters, and you don't know that signing away eternity might matter. So especially the people who have not yet accepted their spiritual nature may be at risk for that kind of a trap. It's fascinating. It's a fascinating time in history. It's a fascinating thousands of years that have led up to this time in history to create all of this. So, Chris, I gotta get baptized. Chris, you can baptize yourself, bro, if you want. Yeah, go to a church and do it if you want. That's cool too. But bless some water and ask, Jesus to be present with you and to come into your heart and to bless that water with you, and then do it. You have that. Remember, Jesus didn't have a church. Or do whatever you want. You missed some serious stuff, Lacey. You did. You missed like the best part. So go back and find that link and go read it for yourself, or go and re-listen to it, because it's pretty good. And I'm gonna go check out that girl's video too, that article was based off of, because it's probably pretty cool. But I'm gonna look back through the chat a little bit and just see if there's any questions or ideas that I missed that I can throw out. Creepy satanic crap is right. The only seal is the Nintendo seal of quality. That's true. That's the only one that matters. Dude, Alan Marcus, I don't know if you're a Final Fantasy VII fan, but that shit's coming out in a couple days. I'm going to probably be like gone for months. Final Fantasy VII world. I don't know. I'm going to try to temper that shit and only do a little bit a day, but yeah, if they exactly, DD, that's what I'm saying. If they really wanted to help us, they would just do the right thing without expecting some oath from anybody. We should have freedom of religion. We should have freedom of everything. It should not be something that is required of us for anything, especially not monetary or food related. Like, that should just be shit that we do and have without any interruption. $1,200 stimulus for your pledge to the eternal oath. That would be pretty cheap. Don't do that for sure. 1,200 is not, no, it's not, 1,200 is not connected with the Nasara Jasara thing that we're talking about at all. That would be a lot more money. That'd be like literally canceling all debt and giving you like almost endless money. If you looked at how big that number was, it's a lot of money. Divided up between people, like, it's a lot of money. So it's a lot more than $1,200. The $1,200 is just a fucking band-aid that they're throwing at us because they're pieces of shit. And what's up, Jeffro Bodine? Nice to see you. Full text of Draining the Swamp, Monetary and Fiscal Policy Reform on archive.org. Oh, cool. That's awesome. I kind of want to go check it out, actually. If you guys want to stick around for another minute. Let me copy and paste this. Yeah, we really are living in the most amazing time. It's pretty fucking crazy. Targo, thanks for subscribing. Good to have you. Raleigh Dangler, I think I already said hi to you, but hi again. If it's a trap, Dolores Cannon was part of it. I gotta say, I read a Dolores Cannon book and it had a lot of prophecies in it. None of them came true, and she was talking with Nostradamus a lot, and it didn't match up very well with reality. It was written a while ago, and most of it turned out to be bullshit. And I think it's really easy to get caught up with random entities that just like to sap your time and energy and fuck with you. And I think that it's possible that that's happened to her. And I don't know her, and I don't mean to cast aspersions on her. And I feel bad for her if that's what happened. It could also be that just timelines change as things move on. I don't know. But I think it's not very safe to just randomly channel shit and expect it to be true or real. No offense to anyone. She may be a perfectly amazing, sweet woman full of nothing but good truth and only good entities that she works with, but shit gets weird in that realm, man. Okay. Prophecies are never set in stone. Well, some prophecies seem to be at least very likely to come about. We just don't know when. But you're right. They're not. Anyone can make a prophecy. So let's just check this out really quick. On archive.org, we've got the full text of Draining the Swamp. Oh, it's one of these. Okay, I'm not going to do this now. Maybe another time. But I will share the link for you guys if you want to go read that. Thank you for sharing that, whoever that was. So if Jesus said that he is the bright and morning star, does not make him Lucifer. I don't believe that Jesus did say that he was the bright and morning star. Maybe, let's see. Jesus, the bright and... Oh, you know what? How you have fallen from... Okay, why are both Jesus and Satan referred to as a morning star? How you have fallen from heaven, O morning star, son of the dawn. You have been cast down to earth. You who once laid low the nations. Morning star is Lucifer, son of the morning. It's clear from the rest of the passage Isaiah is referring to Satan's fall from heaven. In this case, the morning star refers to Satan. Jesus unmistakably identifies himself as the morning star. Why are both Jesus and Satan referred to as the morning star? It's not the only concept applied to both Jesus and Satan. Jesus is referred to as the Lion tribe of Judah. Satan is compared to the lion. So I guess I'm going to skip their explanation. I'm going to go to Gary Wayne's explanation. And Gary Wayne points out that Satan's whole game is to take things associated with God and especially Jesus and to invert them or subvert them and make them more associated with evil and things. So, which is a great game to play if you're after that. Satan is not Lucifer. Lucifer and Satan are two separate beings. Satan is the angel that fell from heaven. And, wait, so is Lucifer. I don't know, actually. This is another question that I've answered before and forgotten the answer to. Satan is like Lord as a title. But I thought Satan was the actual angel that fell. But then Lucifer is also... No. Gary Wayne answers this question too. Dude, we should just have these questions ready for when Gary Wayne comes back because he answers them really way better than me because he actually studies the Bible, like, and has written giant books about it and understands those things. And isn't Venus the planet of love? Well, yeah. Who knows what planets are, right? And who knows what love they're referring to when pedophiles rape children, they call it love. When Lucifer and Satan deceive humanity, they call it love. So I don't know. I don't know what Venus is, and I know it's associated with love. I just don't know that that's the love that I mean when I say love. Words are deceiving, right? Words are intentionally deceptive and not clear. It's easy to misuse them. So I don't know. You have to like take from that what you will and do with it what you want. But it's interesting. It's interesting to note the many times that you actually can find things that are supposed to be associated with God or Jesus, and then you see Satan or Lucifer using them and twisting them slightly to mean slightly other things, and to get very confusing. The same thing happened with Enoch. There's an Enoch that is like the good Enoch in the Bible, and then there's an Enoch that's like an evil Enoch, and they named him, I mean, if you follow these things and you believe them, you can see that they named the other Enoch on purpose to confuse people who would be looking back through history into thinking that all of the things associated with Enoch were one person, when in fact some were one and some were the other. And so I feel like it's a similar sort of game that's being played with like calling things the Lion of Judah and love and the morning star and stuff like that. You know, we have the concept of the dawn as the bringing of the light as a positive thing, bringing the energy and life, you know, back into the day and re-energizing, and like spring is like a rebirth time. But then we also have that morning star concept associated with Satan and Lucifer, and like the light bearer is like, it sounds good. You're like, yeah, bring the light. But then you're also like, well, if the light is misused and mistimed technology, then maybe that's not the light that I want. So you just have to be, I think, careful and look at all the various aspects of a thing before you blindly trust it or run with it. This is the key to all the things that we ever talk about and look at, is discernment and not making final judgments, and just holding information in our hands and saying like, so far it seems like maybe this. you know? Like for me, for example, like, again, this is probably like the fourth time in my life I've heard of Saint Germain. And so the first time was like, seems like a cool dude. And the second time was in a cartoon. And I was like, I don't know, he's kind of whatever. And then now I'm like, oh, maybe he's like something else. So now I have 3 bits of information. That's not a lot. I can't make a judgment. But I can hold all of those and be like, it's starting to weigh one way or another, right? And then eventually maybe I can say like, oh, my best guess is this. And even then, I don't know for sure that that's like the final place where I'm going to end up. It's hard to pretend to know a thing. I don't know many things at all. I have a lot of ideas based on a lot of evidence, and they change all the time when I get new evidence. So yeah. What is up, Etheric Alchemist? Nice to see you. Saint Michael can kick Satan's ass. That's true. Saint Michael is fucking rad. I've had interactions with Saint Michael and Gabriel, and they both are pretty rad. And Jesus, he's pretty rad. And most other entities I've interacted with have been pretty bad. And there's a lot of them. The deception perverts, use truth to deceive. Exactly. Yeah. Which makes it all the more confusing. Which also makes it more like important that you learn how to discern truth bodily in your heart. And go with that truth, because that's the only truth that's ever going to be very reliable, because all kinds of shit in this realm can be twisted and fucked up. So yeah, try to bring things to a nice little conclusion, but in the end what really is true is that you have to discern. You can't just blindly run into shit. You can't trust shit, and especially when you are dealing with any kind of entity, you have to be careful, because the motherfuckers are smart as fuck. They know exactly what you think about everything. They know what you feel about everything. They know all the texts. They know all the shit that you've read. They know all the people that you know. Like, they know everything. They know exactly how to deceive you best. So you can't just fucking say like, oh, I had a thing and I talked to Nostradamus and they seemed like really was Nostradamus. Like, yeah, it would seem like that, because they're really good at deception. They can't outright lie as far as I understand things, but they can definitely deceive in very intricate and convincing ways. So you just really want to be careful. And I just suggest people don't interact with entities, because you don't need to. You can be a soul progressing through the world happily and gaily and powerfully without any of their bullshit around you. So I just try to keep them at bay, really. But yeah. So discernment. Always keep gathering more information, and always be updating your understandings of things as you go. And I think it's especially important not to just dismiss anything because you at some point decided that it was all bullshit. Because even now, even though this is how I see the Q movement as one of those aspects of the Trinity that Trump has, if not set up himself, I don't think he did, that he's like leading the forefront of as the sort of image for us to focus on in this magical tour we've been brought along. But even that arm of that Trinity, the Q arm, I still have the place in my mind where I'm like, it's possible. It's possible that this guy is actually just a human being who ended up in this position and might free a bunch of kids from sex slavery. Like, that's rad if that happens. It's a possibility. I have not dismissed it entirely. It's just like a very tiny possibility in my book. And the evidence mounts more and more and more and more over the years to it being a massive energy harvesting operation for magical purposes that lead us all astray. And again, I like to not give my energy to any of those aspects of that Trinity. I like to look at them, think about them academically. I like to, imagine what might be true if they are true, and plan sort of accordingly if that were possible. But I also like to use it to understand my enemy and how tricky and crafty they are over thousands of years, and know what they're aiming towards. But not ever give my emotion into them at all, or give my energy into them, right? You can do an objective analysis of something without investing your energy in it. If you give it fear or glee or, like rage or anything, you're powering it forward. And so you want to do your best to be rational, and when you're doing those things, and not give them energy, because that's what they use to power their momentum. So I don't know that any of those three aspects of the Trinity can be stopped at this point. They've gathered most of their energy already, and we're going into the time where we'll see if Trump's going to die, like some say, or if he's going to, go into the next election and win by a landslide, as some say, or if he's going to suspend elections and just be the permanent last president, like that book might indicate. So we'll find out, I guess, if this Nasara thing is a thing that's gaining traction, which it seems to be just based on the number of times I've heard it mentioned in the past week or so. Then we'll see what comes about with that. And again, with my very limited understanding of Lex Mercatoria and sort of contract law, I would say that no matter the amount that they would be offering, and no matter that word eternity's presence or not, I would still be wary of any contract you are asked to sign. As good as that future sounds, if it were real, and if it could be without strings. And so until you determine where your signature will or will not land in this bright, glorious future that the Lightbringer attempts to bring us through various aspects of deception and inverting of sacred concepts like the Trinity, I hope that you can be true to yourself always and travel well, aim for balance, and always look inside first. Mwah.
It's a one-on-one lesson, so do your homework. Make your dome hurt while up on earth. My bones are blessed from holy dirt. Vibes manifested to words that told me search for verbs and adjectives to describe birth. Worth more than one can speak, while the tongue beats a weak, a sour taste in your mouth, bittersweet. Words can also kill you when you sleep. Mind condition, low frequencies while the subconscious mind listens. I can tell a vision filled with lies disguised as truth, and spread it like the word to the youth. Watch the tube. A place where the God gets booed is sorcery. To recreate a God forgery does more than meets the eye. Not too many know. Just hear me flow like the eye of Horus Pinio. Yeah, not ready to leave until we believe we're free to go. You hear me, yo?
Sculpted from the ether, the material will eat ya. Stuck on this plane, lanes use jet fuel to greet ya. The dimensional three ain't beating me on top of the fourth. Didn't climb Jacob's ladder to squab with a sword. Forged with ink drizzle, branched out. Try quiet your lamps now. Ascension past the matter that they slam out they damn mouths. We ain't on land now, but they understand. Sacrificing wisdom, hoarding dumber, kosher, wicked hands. Putting faith in worthless worship of the mortals. Artificial portals, mass ingestion of the black goo. Bioengineered morsels, conversing with machine elves. Bypassing baggage, they stuck on Android screens now. I'm scrolling emerald tablets. Moloch living lavish, off the backs of the savage. Them clasped hands at the Sabbath. Smack of energy damage, they done twisted the tongues. Put nanotech in the lungs, the awakening's begun. All they really can do is fucking
run.